In the beginning of November 1928, newlywed couple Glen and Bessie Hyde decided that they were going to spend their honeymoon rafting down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. November 18th, they were never seen from again. A lot of people wondered, was it did they fall victim to the rapids and they ended up drowning? Or did something more sinister happen? Later on, as the years went by, this couple became kind of like an urban legend. It wasn't until a skeleton was found inside somebody's, I think it was either a boathouse or a shed or a garage or something. It wasn't until a skeleton was located that it kicked this urban legend back into the realm of investigation. Who was that skeleton? Who did that skeleton belong to, basically, and why was that skeleton residing in somebody's on somebody's property? Well, we're gonna find out pretty damn quickly. Okay, video's loaded up. 3, 2, 1.
Colorado River cuts through the Grand Canyon, a perilous stretch of water that was once considered the most dangerous in the world.
There is nothing more exciting than doing something that puts your life at risk. I would love to go parachuting. Going up in an airplane and jumping out into basically the void and glide down to the ground on a parachute. I'm not sure how my fat ass could handle it, but I would like to try it. That's actually something I try to get my mom to do as part of her bucket list after she retired, but sadly she passed away before she ever had a chance. But yeah, whitewater rafting. I think that's the correct name. That's something I'd be willing to try. Also, I'm willing to try almost anything at least once.
1828, two newlyweds set out to navigate these treacherous whitewater rapids. They were never seen again. Emery Kolb, a Grand Canyon photographer, was one of the last people to see them alive. 50 years later, when Kolb died, authorities were surprised by a gruesome discovery in his boathouse.
Okay, it was a boathouse. I couldn't recall if it was a boathouse, a shed, a garage, but the fact is, something gruesome this way lurks.
On the rim of the canyon. Hidden in a canoe was a single human skeleton that appeared to have suffered a violent death.
Okay, ultimately the question is, who was this person? And why was Emery Kolb based? I think that's how you pronounce his name. Why was this individual housing this skeleton? It's pretty uncommon for people to be keeping skeletons on their property without like burying them or anything. So it really makes you wonder, who was this skeleton formerly?
Whose bones were these? And how did the victim die?
One good option would be that the individual met death by homicide. A second option would be suicide. It would be nice to know who this individual was.
If I remember correctly, I think they're going to find a bullet hole in the skull. So homicide, it was homicide basically.
I mean, somebody is missing. Somebody was out there, and there may be friends or relatives who would very much like to know who it is.
The disappearance of the honeymoon couple and the discovery of the human remains in the boathouse happened almost 50 years apart. Yet they were connected by an article in an Idaho newspaper and by the Arizona law authorities. They suggested that the bones might be those of the adventurous young river rafter, Glen Hyde. Tonight,
now, I honestly think, now here's my theory. I'll get into the theory in a little bit later, but what I think it is, I think Glen was murdered and I think it was Bessie that did it. You'll find out pretty soon why I think that, though.
Examine these mysteries of the Grand Canyon. What happened to Glen Hyde and his bride Bessie? Is their disappearance connected to the secret of the bones in the boathouse? Glen and Bessie Hyde were married in Twin Falls, Idaho on April 10th, 1928. Glen was 27 and Bessie just 18 years old.
I understand that, it was kind of a thing of the time where older people would marry much younger people, but couldn't the guy look for somebody more his age? I'm not trying to shit on him for it, but it is kind of weird that back then it was seen as acceptable. But why would an older guy want to be with a younger woman? Like the main argument is, well, younger people can give birth to more kids, that they can birth more children. But if it was me, I would rather want somebody my age. Nothing against younger people, I'm pretty sure that younger people are nice and everything, but I would want somebody at my age, that because they've gone through like the same things that I have. They've gone through the same things that I have growing up. There isn't like a disparity or whatever you want to call it, where like you have somebody so young they don't understand what you went through. I'd rather have somebody that's my age that can understand what I went through. It just seems weird. It seems weird that it even happens today still. It's not as common, but you still have people marrying people who are 10, 20, 30 years younger than them. It's just fucking weird.
That fall, they built a boat for a special honeymoon adventure. A trip down the Colorado River to California through the dangerous Grand Canyon.
What would you like to do on your honeymoon? Go to Niagara Falls, check out the scenery over there. Go to Paris, France, have a nice meal under the Eiffel Tower. Go to Florida and take in some aquatic shows. Let's risk our life going down rapids. Yeah. If I was Bessie and he looks at me and goes, "Hey, we're going to go down the rapids of the Colorado River," I'd be like, "Say what? Say what? Yeah, you're joking, right? You're joking, right? We're gonna just go see the Grand Canyon. Oh no, we're gonna go through the rapids. We could possibly die. I love you, honey." Here's the issue that I had with this, and this is one of the reasons why I think Bessie killed Glen. Not only did Glen want to go down the Colorado River, that's one thing. He did not want to wear any sort of safety equipment. No life vests, no inflatable inner tubes, no nothing. That would have been fine if it was just him. But he also forced this on Bessie. I feel that it is incredibly wrong to force somebody to go on do something that they may not be comfortable doing, going on the rapids like this, but then also telling him, like, you're not going to be wearing a life vest. Could you imagine what Bessie was feeling when she was told? She's like, okay, well, we're going to go. I'll go get us some life vests. And he's like, no, we're not going to use life vests. But honey, it's dangerous. I don't care. I don't care if it's dangerous. I don't want life vests. Well, honey, we could die. Well, then we die. That really shows her how much he cared about her. And the honest truth is, it sounds like he didn't really care about her that much if he was willing to gamble with her life. It's one thing if he wanted to go down that river, the two of them, and he didn't want to wear a life vest. That's his choice. But to literally force that choice on other people, that's bullshit.
Glen was a thrill seeker. This journey would mean instant notoriety.
Glen wanted to make a record run through the Grand Canyon. He wanted to do it in a homemade boat. He wanted to do it with a new bride who had never been on rivers before, and he wanted to do it without life jackets.
The
In
fool.
the fall of the year, about 6
goddamn
months after
fool.
they're married,
I will say it right now, and if he was alive, I'd say it to his face. He's a goddamn fool. Now, Emmerich Kobe, he was one of the last people to see Glen and Bessie Hyde before they disappeared. The guy actually offered his safety equipment. He actually offered them his own safety equipment because he was that worried about them getting hurt or dying. And still, even though you had a professional in that area telling this married couple, hey, you need protection. You need protection. You need, when you're going down these rapids, I've been down these rapids. I know how dangerous it is. You are going to need some sort of protection. To literally have Glen go, no, we don't need protection. We'll be fine. That shows exactly how much he did not care about himself and he didn't care about his wife. I would never, if I was married, I would never do that to my wife. If she's like, honey, I want life vest, fine. I'll make sure she has life vest. In fact, if it makes her feel better, I'd give her like 4 life vests, 5 life vests, as long as she felt comfortable and safe.
they were in Green River, Utah. An experienced riverman at Green River looked at the boat, and he thought it looked to him like a coffin. It was unlike anything that had run down the Colorado before.
When I heard that when I was younger, when I watched this when I was younger, I heard him say that it looked like a coffin. I thought, oh my God, how weird is it that you have 2 people that disappeared and the boat that they were riding in is described as literally looking like a coffin? There is some weird, dark, morbid irony there, ladies and gentlemen.
The Hydes took 26 days to get from Utah to the Bright Angel Trail in the heart of the Grand Canyon. A new record. With the most dangerous stretch still ahead, they stopped to see Emery Kobe, who had already twice navigated the Colorado.
Okay, so the guy's name was Emery Kobe. That's the person I was talking about that wanted to give them his safety equipment. In the comment section below, would if somebody offered you their safety equipment, would you take it?
River Rapids. Kolb had arrived at the canyon in 1902 and set about documenting its grandeur. His stunning photographs and immense knowledge of the river soon made Emery Kolb a legend.
And that's why I say that Glen was a goddamn fool. You have somebody who is seen as a legend that knows how that river is. He is literally telling you it is not safe to go without safety equipment. And you literally have a guy go, nope, I don't need it. We don't need it. The guy was an asshole. He was an asshole for putting his wife's life at risk.
He was very enthusiastic about his river trips and so proud of them. Everybody that I know that was interested in the river at all the years I was there, first came and talked to Emery Kobe.
Frankly, I just don't think you should go. No woman has ever traveled the river from this point.
When the Hydes visited Kolb, Bessie had grown tired of the river trip.
Now, especially the idea of not taking life jackets.
Emery tried to warn them of the certain dangers ahead.
The river.
He asked them to stay with him through the winter and postpone their trip until the weather improved.
Glen, I just don't think
He even offered the couple his own life jackets, but Glen refused all Kolb's offers.
There's really no reason.
Okay, so I decided to do some quick research while this was playing. And I wanted to show you guys this. Hold on, let's do this. I asked Bing, how many people have rafted down the Colorado River at the Grand Canyon? Now, it doesn't say exactly what the time frame is, but they're saying approximately 18,000 to 27,000 people raft the Colorado River through the Grand. Okay, so it's each year. It's each year through the Grand Canyon. This number includes both commercial trips and privateers, with commercial trips being the most common. Let's see here. Let's see, Grand Canyon 1 day rafting 1 day. Wow. So basically, a lot of people go through there each year, and I'll make you a bet. I'll make you a bet that 99% of that number there, everybody wants to wear protection. It's the dumb fucks, it's the idiots, it's the morons that don't want to use safety. And the thing is, they will get their asses in trouble, and they are the first ones that call out for help when they realize that they've gone in it too deep. Okay, let's switch back.
Reason to fear. Both Bessie and I are good, strong swimmers. Come on, Bessie, the light will be fading.
See, this is where basically they tell Glenn literally just spoke up for his wife. He's like, "Oh no, she doesn't need it. She's a good swimmer." Man, I would have told him once again. If it was me and I was there, I'd be like, "You guys, you're not listening. You're fucking not listening. You go down that river without any sort of protection, you will be dead. That river will eat you." You know, like...
Mr. Cope told me that he tried his best everywhere in the world to talk him out of going. He said, "You have no idea what you're getting into." He said, "I've been there and I know what it's like." He begged him to take life preservers and even inner tubes. And Glenn flat refused. He said that, "I'm going to do it without or else."
What does that say about him when he's willing to put his reputation above the life of his wife? To me, it says that he's not a good person. It says that he's not a nice person. And the river possibly claimed another life.
2 days later, Glen and Bessie disappeared. Army aviators flew into the canyon and spotted the empty boat below Diamond Creek.
Here's the thing. If they took, let's say this was a case of drowning, even though evidence suggests that it may have not been. Let's say this was a tragic case of drowning. If they had those life vests and even inner tubes, they could have possibly survived this. What happened here, if this was a case of drowning, this could have been totally prevented. This could have been totally prevented. This is what happens when you have somebody who has a massive fucking ego.
Emery Kolb was asked to lead the search party to find the lost couple.
Can you imagine what he was thinking? Can you imagine what Emery was thinking? He's like, oh God. He was probably at home when he got the word. Hey, Emery, some people disappeared. We need your help. Oh, okay. What do you know? It's a newlywed couple. The husband's name is Glenn. The wife's name is Bessie. Can you imagine what Emery was thinking at that point? He's like, oh my God. I warned them. And he did not listen. Why did he not listen?
Surprisingly, when he discovered the boat, it was undamaged.
And this is why I say I think that Bessie killed him. Well, this is just one of many things. If they drowned, that means that possibly the boat would have capsized, or it could have got turned on its side and they fell off. There would have been damage on the inside. There would have been water on the inside. According to this, it makes it sound like the boat was basically untouched, basically.
Glenn! Bessie!
The boat seemed to be intact. The clothes, food, Glenn's rifle was on board, a camera with exposed film. There's a very sketchy diary, but a diary that Bessie Hyde had been keeping was on board. They found everything there except for the people. There's no sign of them.
The bodies of Glen and Bessie Hyde were never recovered. 50 years later, the discovery of the bones in Kolb's boathouse fueled speculation.
Now, it showed the bones were in something. I'm wondering if it was a boat that the bones were found in. If it was a boat, was it the same boat that the Hydes used? I'm wondering if it was the same boat.
Could these be the remains of Glen Hyde? And how are they connected to Emery Kolb?
We'll get him examined.
The authorities turned the skeleton over to Dr. Walter Birkby, an expert in the science of identifying human remains. He discovered that the bones are of a male Caucasian, 20 to 23 years of age, 6 feet tall with light brown hair. Dr. Birkby also discovered a bullet embedded in the skull.
And this is why I say that if it was Glen Hyde, then Bessie could have shot him and killed him.
What we found out from the bullet that was removed from the skull was that not only was this a .32 caliber projectile, it came from a revolver that began manufacturing about 1902.
2.1 centimeters.
The production date of the gun and clothing fragments found with the skeleton suggest that death occurred in the 1920s. During that time, only 2 people, Glen and Bessie Hyde, are known to have disappeared in the Grand Canyon.
Stature estimate.
Take your bet who that skeleton could have been. In the comment section, who do you think that skeleton was? Do you think it was Glen or Bessie Hyde? And if it wasn't them, who could it have been then?
Somewhere along the line, I heard a rumor to the effect that Emery Kolb could have murdered Glen Hyde in order that he could have, I guess, beautiful Bessie. It's so preposterous that I just can't believe it, that he would off somebody and then keep the damn body around. You got verticality on these mirrors?
Yes.
We're gonna have to rotate that more to the left.
Dr. Birkby hoped to put the rumors to rest.
More yet, more yet.
Now, I always find it amazing, how people have techniques to determine something about skeletons. I know you can't really see it that well here because of me having to have this kind of transparent, but basically, if you go and watch the original video, they have like this weird form of like an X-ray. It's freaking weird.
He superimposed a photograph of Glen
Here it
over
is.
the skull to precisely compare bone structure.
Even more. Even more.
This was
Yeah,
the
keep
only
turning it,
way
keep turning
to
it.
determine if the skeleton was indeed Glen Hyde's.
Right there. Hold it. The skull is of a different shape than the face of Glen Hyde. The eye orbits themselves are angled in a different direction than Glen Hyde's. The cheeks are wider. Even the shape of the chin is wrong. Glen Hyde's chin was somewhat rounded, as we can see on the photograph, whereas the chin of the submitted skull tends to be fairly squared off.
Okay, since they say that it wasn't Glen because of the way the skull was. I noticed that they didn't mention it being a woman's skeleton because a woman's skeleton is slightly different. I think it has something to do with like the pelvis and everything. So I don't recall them mentioning that. So they don't think it was a woman. So it could have been a guy, but then again, this brings up the question, who the hell was in this guy's boathouse?
So those features alone do not match. These remains, these bones that were submitted for analyses are not the remains of Glen Hyde, period. End of story.
Okay, well, who is it then?
But the story
Bones don't just fall into somebody's boathouse. It isn't just like they fall out of the goddamn sky. Somebody had to have ended up there. Who the hell are these bones?
The story, in fact, does go on, and the mystery deepens. If the bones did not belong to Glen Hyde, then what happened to Glen and Bessie? The answer may lie in the eyewitness reports that claim Bessie Hyde is still alive and that she was seen back in the Grand Canyon, retracing the steps of her ill-fated honeymoon adventure 43 years after she disappeared. In 1971,
I don't think it was Bessie Hyde. If anything, I think because they're going to talk about it pretty quickly, I think it was somebody just role-playing. They were developing like a little head canon, I guess you could say, where they're thinking about like what they would do and what they would say if they were Bessie Hyde. I don't think it was Bessie Hyde. The reason being, if Bessie did kill her husband, if she killed her husband, it's because she felt so unsafe because of that river. If you had something traumatic happen to you would you willingly want to go back there and re-experience it? No. What I think happened was I think that Glenn and Bessie may have had an argument. It could have been that Bessie was just up, she was fed up. She could have been fed up with, the lack of safety that she felt. He told Glenn that either they start using life vest or she's done. He could have done something to her. She defended herself, and Glenn could have met a gruesome end.
An unknown woman took a 20-day rafting trip through the canyon. Geologist George Billingsley was also in the party.
She was a very serious person. She was always just watching the canyon and helping out a little bit around camp, all the time wanting to do something, and fairly happy, but quiet, and pretty much to herself.
Towards the end of the trip, they made camp at Diamond Creek.
So it was right around the corner there where Emery Cole...
The same spot where Glenn and Bessie's boat had been found 4 decades earlier.
You know, to this day we have...
That evening, a river guide told the legend of the missing couple, and the woman, matter-of-factly, revealed her true identity.
I'm Bessie Hyde.
I think it was just somebody who was getting into the moment, I guess you could say. It could have been just somebody who just wanted to relive that moment. Yeah. I don't think it was Bessie at all. Why go back to a place that offered so much discomfort, Did Bessie have any family that lived in the area? It makes no sense for her to go back there if she did something illegal, like like executing her husband, basically, or murdering, whatever the correct term is.
She told us seriously enough to where we wasn't sure what else to say,
Killed him.
but we all figured she was just making up her own story.
How?
But later on, we got to thinking, now maybe she really was Bessie because the age was
I
right.
got a knife and I
And she
stabbed
never
him.
smiled when she said what she said, as if she really knew.
Well, it was right along here we had a bad fight, and he beat me up.
According to the woman, Glenn was obsessed with completing the trip, no matter how dangerous. When she tried to leave, a fight erupted.
And that's kind of like what I mentioned here. Whereas I think that she basically told him, she gave him an ultimatum and he didn't like it, and one thing led to another.
I got the full name of the woman and eventually contacted her back in Ohio. But when I asked her about the Hydes and their disappearance, she denied everything. She said she hadn't told the story. She said she didn't know anybody named Hyde.
I think that she was too embarrassed. I figured that she went on this, this little rafting trip, and that basically, people were going to be, kind of, role playing or whatever, like they're going to be using their imaginations. I think that's what she thought. Like, I'm just going to use my imagination and kind of live in the moment, And then when people started coming to question her, I think that she felt a little bit embarrassed, and that's why she said she didn't know anything.
And she said she wasn't Bessie Hyde. My gut feeling, though, is that she was.
The mysteries surrounding this story still remain unsolved. If the bones in Emery Cobb's boathouse are not Glen Hyde's, whose are they? And why did Cobb keep them hidden in that canoe for so many years? The mysteries have survived the years, and for now, they remain part of the legend of the Grand Canyon. Next, the story of a woman trapped in her house by agoraphobia, the irrational fear of unknown people and places. Strangely, she has vanished.
Okay, so ultimately, worst, I'm not sure how to really say it. On one end, Glenn and Bessie could have died due to drowning. They could have drowned. They could have drowned. On the other hand, we could be looking at something a little bit more sinister here. Did Bessie end up killing her husband because she felt like her life was at risk, was so much at risk? The only way for her to get to safety was basically to remove the husband. Is that something, is that what it was? We may never know. We may never know. Okay, let's go to the Unsolved Mysteries wiki and see if there's been anything. I'm not really anticipating there being any real updates because of the fact how old this case is. And when it comes to like mysterious legends, ghosts, and UFO cases, there's never really any closure. So let's just see let's see what we have. Okay, wow, this is actually a long case. Okay. Extra notes. This case originally aired on the November 29th, 1987 special number 4 episode with Robert Stack. It was later reprofiled in a Dennis Farina hosted series on the April 8th, 2010 episode. It ranks as one of the most memorable cases in the entire series. I agree. There are a few cases that I would say is above this one. Tallman House. I love the Tallman House case. The St. James Hotel. Let's see here. What else is there? I used to say that the Allagash abductions was up there, but it was revealed that was a fraud. Let's see here. What are some other non-paranormal cases? God, I can't recall the name of it. There's a case about a husband and wife who were in Canada. They were in an RV, and basically they pulled over to like a rest stop for the night, and somebody pounded on their door. They opened up the door, and a guy came in with a gun, and he shot and killed the wife. That's one of my cases that I really like. But that's never been solved. But yeah, this case definitely ranks up there though. It was also profiled on The Trail Went Cold. Several books were written about the case, including Sunk Without a Sound, The Tragic Colorado Honeymoon of Glen and Bessie Hyde by Brad Dimock. Dimock and his wife even built a replica of Glen and Bessie's boat and sailed it down the Colorado River. I hope that they used, I was about to say fools, but I hope that they used Life Vests and everything. Based on their experience, they believe Glen and Bessie's boat was ill-equipped for use on the river and that they probably drowned. Most likely. Yeah, I agree. The show's researchers discovered this case after talking to a private investigator. Their research led them to the Idaho newspaper article, which connected Glen and Bessie's disappearance to the remains in the boathouse. Some sources spell Glen's name with 2 N's and state that he and Bessie were married on April 10th. He was 27 and she was 18. They lived in Hanson, Idaho. They built their boat in Green River. They started their trip on October 22nd. They hiked up South Kaibab Trail. They argued while at Hermit Camp. They were supposed to arrive at Needles on December 6th. Their boat was found in Diamond Creek on December 25th. The last specific location she mentioned in her diary was Diamond Creek Rapid at River Mile 225. And the remains were found in 1976 or on May 12th, 1980. Okay, let's go down here. I'm just going to kind of start here. Let's see here. In September 2008, a cold case investigator, Joe Sumner, began looking into the case of the remains in Kolb's boathouse. Let me get a quick drink and my throat's getting dry. He came to believe that they were the same one that was found in 1933. He contacted the museum, and Bessie told him about the photographs of them. Sumner compared the photographs of the skeleton found in 1933 to the remains and clothing found in the boathouse. They were a match. When the remains were initially found in the boathouse, a friend of Kolb's said that he had told him that he and his brother had found a skeleton, clothes, and a revolver under a ledge decades earlier. Sumner discovered that Kolb had been a county coroner jury representative for the Grand Canyon at the time. He believes that Kolb took the remains home after they were unable to identify the victim, but then forgot about it. How do you forget that you have skeleton on your property? You know, that's the one thing I don't think anybody can forget about, you know, because you're kind of always like you go to bed and you're wondering about, okay, who the hell is this stranger that I'm, you know, keeping in my boathouse? You know, like, let's see here. Unable to identify the victim. I forgot about it. Unfortunately, the victim has yet to be identified. Due to the passage of time, it is assumed that Glen and Bessie are now deceased. Elizabeth Cutler, who confessed to being Bessie, passed away in 1998. So it was apparently their name was Elizabeth Cutler. Dr. Birkby passed away on January 31st, 2015, at the age of 84. And do we have anything here? Okay, we got Glen Bessie Hyde at Find a Grave. Okay, let's take a look here. I'm really curious what this says. And then it talks about being last seen on the Colorado River. Date of birth, December 9th, 1898. Oh my God. Twin Falls County, Idaho, USA. Date of death is listed as November 18th, 1928 at the Grand Canyon in Cocaine, I don't know how you pronounce that, County, Arizona, USA. Burial details are unknown. And then it gives his family, you know, his information here. And here's what I'm talking about. Look at the age of his father, or, you know, the date of his father. His father was born in 1850. In 25 more years, his father will be 200 years old. Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. This guy will be almost 2 centuries old. Holy cow. Oops, sorry. Holy cow. Like I said, you see these dates, and it really puts stuff into perspective. Okay, let's check Bessie. Bessie Louise Haley Hyde. Date of birth was December 29th, 1905 in Parkersburg, Wood County, West Virginia, USA. Date of death is recorded as November 18th, 1938 in the Grand Canyon. Burial details are unknown. Okay, let's see here. What do we got here? We got parents, you know, her father was born 1865, mother 1880. He had 2 spouses? Wait, hold on. Wait, what? When was she born again? 1905 into 19. Wait, so she apparently Bessie married this guy. His name is Earl Gardner Helmick Sr. They married in 1926, but apparently they divorced, and then she married Glenn two years later, or somewhere in that time. Yeah. Wow, it's kind of amazing how, you know, how well pictures can preserve things. Boy, she doesn't look really happy in that photo, does she? Hold on. Yeah, she doesn't look really happy at all. But then again, I don't blame her for not looking happy. I mean, like, She was literally being forced down this goddamn river, and she didn't have any say in the matter. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for this case. This may be one of those cases that may never be solved. Here, let's do this. But yeah, so when with the next video, I'm going to be covering one of the cases that a lot of people don't like me for covering, because I'm pretty damn honest with my opinions. I remember covering this case over a decade ago, before the great crackdown happened on these type of videos, and people did not like what I said because of the fact that I was brutally honest with what I feel. I will see you all pretty quickly.